I'm here to talk on a phenomenon or a revolution called dissolving the boxes, which is silently touching people in different parts of the world. But before I start, I ask you a very basic question. I ask this question to each one of you sitting here, and to all those who's listening to this in every corner of the world. Are you really free? You must be wondering which freedom I'm talking of. I'm not talking of the political or the physical freedom. I'm not talking of the economic freedom. But I'm talking of something which is much more fundamental, far more important, and way too intelligent than this physical or this economic freedom. I'm talking of the internal freedom. I'm talking of a freedom which you have kept yourself away from. This slavery is much more dangerous than all others. It is because of 4 reasons. We don't realize this. We don't realize this at all because we've fallen in love with this. And we export this slavery with all our decisions and actions every minute, every second. But the worst part is, the villains for this slavery is not outside, but it's again within us. I wanted to be free from my mental biases, limitations, and boxes. And I wanted to share this freedom with all of you, all across the globe. This gave birth to the idea of dissolving the boxes. I wanted to be free. Now, making of this idea of dissolving the boxes, there were 3 very important incidents. There were 3 very important milestones. And I credit this idea to these 3 different people. When I was young, I've grown up with a lot of cows around me. My parents have really fought to gather 2 square meals a day. And not only this, they had a very tough time to feed our stomach, but they kept feeding our soul. My father was not educated. He couldn't understand English. But whenever there was English news going around, he used to say, with a lot of expectations, "Son, do you understand this?" He didn't read the books, but when he saw my books, my fat books, he used to flip the pages and used to wonder. Imagine the guy who has an idea and who's written a book out of it. When I came up with this idea and when I wrote the book, my father was not there. But his words kept ringing at the book launch. Probably this helped me to dissolve all my walls, and because of this, I was able to dream big. So the credit of dreaming goes to this incident. Not only this, I'll share with you another incident which is very touching, which is very important for me. It helped me to dare. And that incident was, every morning, I used to carry milk to supply them to all my customers year before I went to school. So one day I was doing the same. And the principal of my school saw me. I simply hid behind the tree. I thought, she has not seen. But the moment I went to the school, I was called up on the stage. I felt, now I'll get a good scolding from her. But she had different plans. She called me up and said, "Son, why did you hide behind the tree?" I told, "Ma'am, it was just because I felt you'll not be proud of it." She told, "You are absolutely wrong. if you're not hurting anyone, I'll never be against you. I'll always be proud of you. And this incident gave a big boost to me. It gave me the courage to dare to face any situation in life. My mother called me. She told, I know what you're doing, but your priorities are very different from that of the world. It may not be appreciated. So kindly get few cows for me again so that I can take care of your family. The message was very loud and clear. She didn't want me to go back to the job again. And number two, that she promised that she'll be standing behind me even in tough times. So this helped me to do. So now you know the idea of dissolving the box, the credit goes to whom? It does not go to me. It goes to all those parents. It goes to all those thoughts which allow others to dare, dream, and there's something very interesting in my journey. Whenever, and I'm sure that you'll be able to connect to it very clearly. Whenever you try to do something different, you'll meet with 5 different phases. The first one is people will start ignoring you. They'll laugh at you. They'll fight with you. And if you still have the energy and intelligence to move further, only then you'll be able to create your own space. And only then you'll find that people have started following you. So the first 3 phases in life, the first 3 phases, whenever you're doing something different, is not an obstacle. You should never take it as an obstacle. They are the stepping stones. We see it as obstacles because we always see it from our mental walls, from the pinhole perspectives. I'll discuss what dissolving the box is, or what the problem is first. Whenever a situation is given to you, few automatic thoughts come to our mind, isn't it? Do they? When these automatic thoughts come to our mind, we simply respond to it through our compulsive thoughts, right? We simply respond to it. We simply vomit it out. Thus, we are not free. We are not at all free. Now, there are 5 different traps that are actually holding us back. And I identified these 5 different elements. They are the limited understanding of oneself. The biggest trap is that we don't understand ourselves. From a humankind, we have reduced ourselves as an economic entity. From humankind, we have reduced ourselves to an economic entity, and just by the change of this definition, our perspective to life, our objectives, our purpose, everything got changed. We are only thinking about ourselves now. Now, just because of this limited understanding of oneself, there's a lot of hidden fear within. This fear forces us to ask what if questions every moment. Don't we ask what if questions every moment in life? That internal dialogue of what if questions? This is because of this fear within. And this fear gives rise to a lot of ego. Ego gives rise to attachment. We get hooked to our mental boxes. We get hooked to the results. We are not living in the present. And this gives rise to the dominant mind, which never listens to us. The mind becomes the master, and we simply serve it, when it should be the other way. If individuals are suffering from this, can you imagine an organization, a society, a country to move to the next level? It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. The most important point is, we cannot ignore these vicious traps. These 5 villains, you cannot ignore them. You cannot fight them out. You cannot suppress them. You can only dissolve them. So these 5 villains are so dangerous. We have always been trying to fight them out. But no, you cannot do that. They are very tricky. You can only dissolve these 5 villains inside. And these 5 villains are the root cause of all our problems in life, whether it is professional, whether it's personal, whether it's social, whether it is anything. These 5 villains are the basic cause, root cause of all our problems in life. There's a continuous interplay of these forces within, each villain triggering the other. Only the degrees actually differs from person to person or from situation to situation. We only have situations in life, but you add these, if you perceive the situation through these 5 villains, then you'll find the situations have converted themselves into problems. So every time we are only facing situations, we are converting the situations into problems because of our vicious traps. This is a major issue. This is a major issue, and if we don't address this, all our, whatever solution we decide, it will only be at the superficial level. How dissolve the box is different from what people say thinking out of the box, right? It's very important to understand how dissolve the box is very different from thinking outside the box. When a person is suffering from these 5 villains, he'll have lust for power, for money, for sex, and whatnot. Right? Now this person, if he thinks outside the box, he'll always try to get these 3 things, that is power, money, and sex, only by thinking it in different ways. The reference of the box is still there. The reference of that lust for power, money, and sex is still there, guiding us. Only when you dissolve the box, you get aware that, okay, these 5 villains are the root cause of all our problems. And only then you get the designing intelligence to come out of it. Now, ahimsa was used as a tool by Gandhiji. Ahimsa was used as a tool by Gandhi to actually free India. Now, when I shared this with the people, I had a very interesting guy from IIT Kharagpur. He was not Manish. He said, "So why do you want me to dissolve the boxes? Whenever I have a problem, I take a bottle of liquor and the problems vanish." I said, "Interesting. But what happens to you the next day after the hangover?" He said that the problems again, come back. I said, we are exactly doing this with all our problems in life. We are only diverting our problems, not really solving them. It is because we have not understood the problem in the right spirit. Now, this idea of dissolving the box is, I've designed a model as a solution to end the present issues in India, like the corruption, crime, and rape, which is so rampant. And we've presented it to the UN. And it's under consideration for further discussion and implementation. Now, I'll share this very simple model called the lifestyle model, where if the participation, where the x-axis shows the participation in different aspects of life and growth, and the y-axis shows the 5 vicious cycle that we are hooked to. Now, if the participation is low, and if the cravings and the vicious cycle is high, then most of us are underachievers. And we were here for most of the time. The human race was here for most of the time. What the Western world did was, it shifted the focus, and the participation in life started increasing. But the cravings and the 5 villains were still there. So we shifted from being an underperformer to the materialist. So the shift of the world has been from the underperformer to the materialist, when it should have been from an underachiever to the universalist. When the participation in life is low, and the craving, attachment, and all these things is also low, then that is the stage where sages are, which is not very practical as of now. But there's a fourth stage, where the participation in life is very high, and the cravings, attachment is very low. And this is the state of detached attachment. This is the stage where if you start dissolving the boxes, you'll be there.